It's basically Moonlight meets Let the Right One In, little bits of The Wire sprinkled in, and that works far better than you think it would.
What are vampires like?
I think it starts with drinking blood. Like you have a need to. Eventually that's not good enough, so you switch to animals and people.
The Transfiguration is the debut film of Michael O'Shea. It stars Eric Ruffin and Chloe Levine, and it tells the story of a young boy named Milo who lives in the projects and is obsessed with vampires. And one day he meets and forms a bond with a girl named Sophie who is just as troubled as he is. This movie really intrigued me. I saw the trailer back when I saw Raw in theaters, and I thought it looked amazing, and quite a few things got in the way of me actually checking it out, which was unfortunate, but it finally came to Netflix and I was able to check it out, and this movie is really interesting. It's a really unique modern take on vampire films where vampirism is used as a lens to tell a really unique coming-of-age story about, love and mental illness and how life in the project is a soul-crushing and depressing experience. It's a really, really melancholy film, but it's excellent. It really is very, very good. Where I can say this movie really shines is how raw and realistic it is. There's no performance in this film that does not feel completely 100% real. There's no moment that feels overly sensationalized or fantastic. It's really brutal, raw, crushing realism. Eric Ruffin gives a really wonderfully disconnected performance as Milo. You can tell he's not quite there, and you don't know what exactly it is with him. You don't know what exactly he's seen. It's kind of ambiguous. But the movie leaves you enough clues throughout to know, or at least get a good idea of what's going on. He really shines in his chemistry with Chloe Levine, who plays Sophie. And their overall relationship is really, quite charming in a really depressingly beautiful, mentally ill teenagers kind of way. Michael O'Shea's directing really lends to the overall raw, bleak tone of this film. He utilizes a lot of really wide, empty shots, lots of stark colors, and it really keeps the world feeling very isolated and lonely. There are times when it actually is quite reminiscent of J-horror in the way that it creates this world where there's nothing, there's no one, and it's really eerie. And he employs this really almost mumblecore-esque guerrilla-style camera work that lends this overall intensity to the film that I really, really like. And that intensity builds to a head in the third act, which really, really shocked me with how heavy and depressing it got. I was not expecting that at all. The final lines of this movie are some of the most impactful and depressing dialogue that I've seen in a film, and I did not expect to see that in a film like this at all. The choice of scenery of the projects is a really, really excellent one. I feel that it lends perfectly to the overall atmosphere and the tone of this film. It really lends well to the themes and the idea of depression and the idea of certain people only existing for the purpose of misery. And I love the way that Sophie represents, the one shining light in this overall miserable, awful world. It's not perfect. There's some acting from a child who shows up in the back half of the film that is really not convincing at all. And by that I mean it's obvious this kid never acted before and had no idea, was just kind of thrust on camera with no idea what to do. The movie's a bit of a slow burn, and mind you, that's totally fine, but there is a bit when it does drag for a little bit toward the end of the second act. There were a good 10 to 15 minutes when I was getting a little bored, and that's not good in a 90-minute film. That being said, though, I do think this film was exceptionally well done. The third act alone made up for the couple gripes that I did have. I was initially expecting to give this film, so it's probably more along the lines of good for fans of, or meh even, but the third act is so strong and it really ties the whole thing together in a way that I'm gonna bump this film up to a solid for sure. It's definitely not for everybody. If you don't like slow burns, you're probably not gonna be a big fan of this one, but I would absolutely still say it's worth watching simply for how grounded and original and unflinchingly real it is. This film is excellent and I really, really liked it. Give it a shot. It's on Netflix. If you want to check it out, if anything I've said interests you, give it a watch. It is a harrowing but really, really good film. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. You can click down there and like and comment and subscribe, and I'll be back real soon with a very interesting film that I'm quite excited to check out. Thanks.